All right, this is Eagles 102.3 FM's Eagles Outlook, where we talk politics and current affairs. My name is Udwak Daniel, and yes, this is 5 minutes gone past the hour for 9 on the AM side. Now, the conversation that we'll be having this morning is looking into promoting democracy and good governance in Nigeria. I mean, we cannot stop talking about, matters that concern democracy and good governance, because this happens to be resting on the two pillars, or there rather be two pillars that indeed should indeed bring about the value of the citizenry, as in retrospect to what government and governance should be all about. Yes, but then there has been debate and discourses here and there. I mean, quite a number of persons have been talking about the Tinubu's administration's policies and actions, and all of these have sparked intense debate and concern among Nigerians. Some are accusing the government of exhibiting tyrannical tendencies. Critics are arguing that the administration's handling of protest, its economic policies, and its approach to governance have led to an increased economic hardship. It has led to repression of dissent and erosion of democratic institutions. But on the other hand, supporters of the administration have also argued that the policies, though tough, seemingly hard, are very necessary to addressing Nigeria's long-standing economic and security challenges. So, what the discourse is exploring is the complexities of resisting tyrannical regimes in Nigeria, the implications of the Tinubu administration policies, as well as ways to promote democracy in the country. Right, so if we're also looking deeply into the conversation, you also learn that resisting tyrannical regimes in Nigeria actually requires strategic and collective action. Yes, it does. One of such will be including non-violent resistance. I mean, everyday resistance, collective action, all of these is what it entails to resist any form of tyranny. Right? Now, the Tinubu administration has been accused of exhibiting tyrannical tendencies. Critics are arguing that this is eroding democratic institutions, right? And that it is suppressing opposition voices. So we will be looking into matters that explores the way to push back against oppression, to promote democracy and freedom. The focus will be on the insights of High Chief Peter 2024, if you recall that, which saw security forces killing at least 13 demonstrators and arresting over 1,000 across major cities. Now, Human Rights Watch, that is the HRW, and the Amnesty International have documented cases of torture and extrajudicial killings, and this is found during these protests. But the judiciary has also faced criticism, with some arguing that it has been co-opted under Tinubu to serve elite interest. But then there are different forms of resistance, and I think it's best that we put us through it. Non-violent action is one of such, like strikes, boycotts, civil disobedience, and peaceful protest can be powerful tools against tyranny, right? Small, consistent choices in daily life can also be a form of resistance, including being very critical of information and resisting propaganda. That's what is called the everyday resistance. And then there is the collective action. Unity and collective action are key to successful resistance, emphasizing the importance of resistance for effective resistance, right? One of the things, or one of the ways, will be identifying vulnerabilities, where study you need to communities to create a united front against oppression. There is also the part of critical thinking. So you have to be critical of information, resist propaganda by fact-checking, verifying claims. Now, I'm just giving you this for free. And then there is the place of protecting civil liberties. This is this one applied advocating for policies that protect freedom of speech, assembly, as well as privacy. And the last one, of course, supports organizations. This one has to do with collaborating with organizations dedicated to defense freedom. Now, one Nigerian who has been affected by the Tinubu administration's policy, though, is a young entrepreneur who chooses anonymity. And he said he received a loan from the Nigerian Education Loan Fund to start a small business. With the loan, he was able to invest in his business and create jobs for others in his community. Now, he says that Tinubu administration's policies have given me the opportunity to pursue my dreams and contribute to the growth of my community. So while, as I said earlier, when I first of all opened the discourse, I made it clear that there are arguments and counter arguments in this light, where some are saying that, hey, it does seem as though the government, is exhibiting tyrannical tendencies. Critics argue that the administration's handling of protest, its economic policies, its approach to governance have led to increased hardship, repression of dissent, and all of that. I mean, even the erosion of democratic institutions. But on the other hand, there is also an argument that says that, look, all of these is necessary. These policies are necessary. I mean, you can be a yo-yo leader and think everybody must like you. No, everybody must not like you. No, as long as you know what policies you're laying down, as long as you know the long term, whether long term or short term, the doing. So it's necessary to address Nigeria's long-standing economic, and security challenges, right? So these are the arguments. All of these is to look into matters that concern promoting democracy as well as good governance, right? Now, Atiku Abubakar, former of Sokoto State, accused the Tinubu administration of destabilizing opposition parties, right? And then, of course, Peter Obi, 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, has criticized Tinubu's handling of the economy and security challenges. And now we've also seen where our guest himself, who is also a renowned personality, has also added his voice. I mean, the national secretary of the coalition of United Political Parties, that's the CUPP, and former national chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, has been very vocal about the administration's policies. Now, I'm talking about High Chief Peter Ame, right? So he's joining us via phone call as we go conversational in this regard. Now, in the course of this discourse, of course, we will open the phone line so you two can tell us your take, in this topic, and let us know what your thoughts exactly would be. Are you arguing in favor of those who say that, look, although the policies may be tough, they may be steering to tough heights. In other words, it is necessary. Or are you going to be standing by those who believe that there is a tyrannical, tendency under the Tinubu administration, and that it borders around economic differences, societal difference, and all of that, and that it's not helping us as a people? Well, we'll find out already. We have a guest already who is standing by. Yes, I'm talking about the High Chief right now. Yes, and he's going to be adding his voice in the discourse already. Hello and good morning to you, High Chief. Hello? Are you there? Okay. I think the network is playing tricks on us right now, but we'll try to reconnect with the High Chief this morning. All right, but let's also put it out there. I'll give you just a little bit, as to what is going on in terms of the inflation rate. I mean, as at June of 2024, right, we saw 34.19%. That was the highest in nearly 3 decades, yeah? And of course, food inflation at that time to 40.87%, directly affecting the living standards of the working class, and that we are experiencing multi-dimensional poverty, where over 104 million people living below the poverty line in 2024, with 13 million Nigerians pushed into poverty since the subsidy removal. And the Tinubu's administration has also been criticized for quite a number of things, But then we will also put it out that it's not just all of these are not in isolation, right? Because right here in Nigeria too, right outside the shores of Nigeria, countries like South Africa, Brazil, Rwanda have also experienced the same. I mean, South Africa has implemented economic reforms, and these reforms are aimed, they're aimed at boosting economic growth and improving the lives of its citizens. Similarly, Tinubu administration has introduced bold reforms to address Nigeria's long-standing, economic challenges, right? And Rwanda's infrastructure development is also one that should also be brought into view when it comes to this discourse this morning. I mean, Rwanda has invested heavily in infrastructure development, including construction of new roads and bridges. And the Tinubu administration has also prioritized infrastructure development. There are with some levels of significant investment in new roads as well as power plants. Yeah, even though there is a crisis now within the power sector that's going on right there. But the Brazil's social welfare program cannot also be ignored because as it stands, Brazil has implemented a social welfare program that is aimed at supporting vulnerable populations. And in the same vein, have we not seen the Tinubu administration do same? I mean, it has introduced social welfare programs, including the student loan bill. I mean, the Nigeria Education Loan Fund, which of course, a young man is also saying, if not for that fund, I don't know where I would have been. I would not be an employee of labor and all. Well, let's get to hear from High Chief. High Chief, good morning to you and welcome to the Prog Show this morning. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, hello, High Chief. Good morning.
Hi, I can hear you now.
Oh, awesome. Welcome to the Prog Show this morning.
Thank you.
High Chief, you have been a strong voice when it comes to matters that concern. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Repeat again.
Yes, I said that you have been a strong voice when it comes to the matters that concern tyranny, right? When it comes to matters that concern tyranny. And you've spoken audaciously, saying that no government, no country rather, has the right to have a leadership that runs a tyrannical government, such that there is a probe of dissent voices when things are not even going well and the people are speaking. I'd like you to give us your thoughts into the conversation this morning, because as we look into matters that concern the Tinubu administration's policy, which quite a number of well-meaning Nigerians and everybody in Nigeria is saying what we go through, what we experience as a people, as a nation, is as a result of these policies. Hitherto, Mr. President has been outside the shores of Nigeria on several occasions, and while speaking to the international community, has made some very daunting statements. One of such was when he went to, Brazil now, and he had said that we are corruption free. That's what he said. And he had also gone there to saying quite a number of things, great things about the country and his policies. Recently, we have also seen Wale Edun, coming aboard and telling us how much the economy is thriving, Minister of Finance, and all of that. So let me know your thoughts in all of these when you put it into perspective.
First of all, when the president talked about corruption, Nigeria being corruption free is a lie. because the citadel of our corruption empire is at the Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC itself. Because there we, as we talk, we are the only country oil producing nation in the world that does not have a flow meter for how many barrel of oil is generating. And then half of the oil we generate has been stolen on icy. And like I always said, oil is not something, crude oil is not something you bring a ferry. You bring big ship to carry. So it's obvious that government is complicit on that process. And that they talk about corruption as if forgotten how much was used for turnaround maintenance of the refineries today. They are not working, they have not pumped even a liter of crude oil, a barrel of crude oil. So you look at this, that the Nigeria is still deep in corruption. It's just that it has been, given a new style, how it operates. And that's the reason why the NNPC chief was even removed. For me, I think one of the effect of authoritarianism and leadership by force is to try to force a central control on people. And what the Tinubu administration have done in trying to attack opposition voices either in Lagos, in KB, in Kaduna, is because they want to dismantle democratic structure to consolidate power, and undermining checks and balances like independent judiciary and all this other stuff we have seen today. Today we have a judiciary that's supposed to be independent, that's supposed to be taking issues as a matter of urgency, but I refuse to do so. If you look at the issue of the River State, in today, when you know that despite the mention of Section 305 of the Constitution by the President for the state of emergency, and it is even something that is visible to any blind man, that the Section 305 is mentioned for state of emergency, so not giving power to remove or to suspend a democratically elected governor, or to suspend a democratically elected constituted state of assembly. And Section 3, even despite the governor has joined the military under the law, that has been eroded by the tyranny and forceful ejection from office by the president. So these are signs, and anybody who say they are not seeing it, and this will lead to the erosion of democratic institutions, and the consequences are very huge. Since they are losing their constitutional rights to freedom, to free speech, and others, the DSS is using state apparatus to write letter up and down to be able to suspend people, the citizens' Twitter handle. This is an aberration within democratic governance. And the president is enjoying this because all his struggle, all his attempt is to say the oppositions are not there, is to say the opposition they will win the election last slide, is to say they have control of the Nigerian electoral space. But yet, they are not resting, they are attacking the opposition with every sense of opportunity they get. So there's a lot, that is going on, that has fractured our democratic institutions, and for us to struggle to build collective identity and pursue the shared goal. So we have a situation where this thing is not going to help our democracy. Tyranny anywhere must be confronted with all sense of collective will by the people. And I think one of the only way we can save democracy, because democracy is one governance that gives the people the right to free speech, the right to freedom of association, and the right to be able to participate in government, even while being outside government, so that you can see what government is doing and what are the things that undermine, the control or suppresses free thought and creativity. So this is clear.
Yeah. So, Hi Chief, I want to make sure that we are not also politicizing, the tyranny that we are talking about under the Tinubu administration. Why am I saying this? Right. I want to understand, are you saying that there has not been anything good where we can say that we are making an edge, we are making the mark, we are making gains, right, under this administration? Now, I can give you a breakdown of some positives, some gains. When it comes to the economic reforms now, under this administration, they met targets with non-oil revenue collection surging by over 40% to 20.59 trillion naira, and that is in 2025 compared to 14.6 trillion naira in the previous year. Now, there was also the unified foreign exchange market attracting investors, boosting confidence in the economy. Now, there has also been the removed fuel subsidy, redirecting the funds to critical sectors such as healthcare, education, infrastructure, reducing petrol importation by 50%. I mean, we can go on and on. Security and safety, there's been priority of the national security. There's been investment in modernizing and equipping security forces. Just recently, the Tinubu-led administration, while reacting to the killings in Borno State, had recommended, the monies and allocated monies for drones to fight insurgency and insecurity. Over 4,600 hostages freed, more than 9,300 hostiles neutralized, and over 7,000 terrorist bandits arrested. And it has established the 50 billion naira Polako initiative, annually recruiting 30,000 new police personnel. I mean, if you are to put all of these together, would we still say that the opposition, so to speak, have not also been misplaced in the priorities as to judging that there is tyrannical tendencies under this administration?
One thing you should know about democracy is the fact that as long as it is not built on the rights of the people to participate, some of these things you mentioned will not be freely authenticated by the people. Because it's not about reading press statements. Are these things really true? Can people travel within Zamfara as I speak to you today? Can people freely move within Yobe? Do people have the freedom to go to Kajuru now and then move around without being kidnapped? Is our road still not a death trap? We talk about to prioritize the government spending and to cut waste in government. One of the major problems we face in our government is over-bloated expenditure. The last year expenditure was stated by Minister of Finance himself, capital expenditure performed 25%, recurrent perform 100%. So we are spending on things that are not productive, on services that are not regenerating wealth, and we are not spending more on capital expenditure that will improve on the life of the people. When I talk about that, I'm trying to prioritize spending, try to put it in proper perspective that will favor the life of the people. It's like you talk about we have close to over 36,000 square kilometers of federal road across Nigeria, Calabar Oitu. You have federal East-West road. You have Enugu Kogi road. This road is 9-mile road. This road are in bad shape. That you can't even drive on them. And the government started a new project that is going to go water variation, probably will go over 20-something trillion naira. So today, the public announced statement is about 15 trillion. And these are the issues that come with tyranny and come with suppression of voices. In the Nigerian system, democratic system, such projects must go through the National Assembly appropriation procedures, where it will be passed into law, and they become an appropriation act for the government to spend. Today, that project did not pass through any appropriation. In our public service, there must be competitive bidding for that project. All Nigerians are allowed to participate, and all contracts registered within the territory of Nigeria are allowed to participate in the bidding. And people are supposed to go through that bidding process. And those who are qualified are supposed to be selected to go to the final round, and then the best among them with the best costing for the government. With those what we see today was the president sat there in his office. China is 15 trillion naira contract for the construction of that road without public bidding, without appropriation. The same thing happened to when the president bought over $150 million private jet. Nothing was brought before the Senate because I didn't really get to know, apart from public documents, the fact that the Senate president said when the president bring the approval, they will approve it. And yet, at that time, the plane was already paid for. So we have a challenge that you can't talk that the government is expanding, the government is generating revenue, and the non-air sector is giving us over $20 billion US. But the fact is that how is that money spent? Today, the president has spent about a quarter of his time in office outside the country. Today, we don't even know where he is. Our president has gone for vacation. Well, Nigeria is one of the most beautiful locations where President could have got to Bukatu Ranch, and then he could have attracted foreign investment. And foreign direct investment cannot come to a country that has security challenge. So today the president is going to be staying in either France or UK, where is his favorite location most times. And in this private jet that I have parked there, if there's no night in those hangars, that will not cost Nigeria up to $50,000. So when you put all this money generated and how it is spent, the expenditure by the presidency alone and those who work for him, you do not see them prioritizing the welfare of the people, like putting money into health, putting money into our educational system. Today we're in African countries today that you go to Ghana, you go to Togo, you go to Benin, you see foreign students. It's only today that you go to Nigerian university and there are no foreign students. That means our universities are not attracting even students from our neighboring country as big as Nigeria is. And that takes investment. That takes the fact that ASUU must be taken seriously. That takes the fact that the Nigerian police must be taken seriously. That takes the fact that those who are working in public servants, there should not be salary disparity. People cannot be working in CBN at a certain level and getting higher than those who work in FCT. So in a public service, there must be some level of balance in payment. So we have a challenge on how we spend our money. And that challenge is what is drawing our economy back. And that challenge is why we cannot attack those processes. Because state institutions that are supposed to be responsible in making sure that our constitution is not undermined, like the judiciary and the National Assembly, have been captured by the executive.
So your recommendations then, it means that you are throwing in support of the wave of strikes, protests, and all of that as a panacea in tackling the situation? Is that what you're saying? You'd like to give us what you feel the way out?
Yes, when government does not listen, and when institutions of government that are supposed to defend the rights of the people have been captured by the executive using state apparatus, then the people have one choice: to peacefully protest and demand that the right thing be done. And they have to be able to do that in the most peaceful manner. And it is within their constitutional right to be able to protest. It is enshrined in our constitution. So you cannot take away that fundamental right from the citizens. And that the government during bad governance, and that people were shot with live bullets, people died, and over 1,000 people were arrested. It's part of the authoritarianism that we are descending into, where dissent is not opinion, dissenting opinion are not given the opportunity to flourish and stay their own side of the story. So it is clear that the collective force and collective will of the people will be the only last line of action to defend democracy. Because when people get into government and all they do, instead of to be legislating and making laws for good governance, is to be singing on your mandate which shall stand for the president, it undermines and erodes the democratic fabric of our nation. So it's clear that we're almost getting to a point where the judiciary too will be singing on your mandate which shall stand. So it is clear that we must defend this process so that those in government will know that we are alive to our own responsibility as citizens of the country, and that we are willing to stake our life to be able to defend the sanctity of our democratic governance. Because it is upon that you can build a closely egalitarian society that will respect the will of the people and the right of the people to choose their leaders, to participate in government without any fear or favor.
All right. Well, anyways, High Chief, thank you far too kind for adding your voice in the discourse. But just before I let you go, there is this message coming from Abbas, is reporting from Dutse. He says, when people say Tinubu's policies are not working or making Nigeria poor, I think it's aggravated political statement. I want to ask how the removal of fuel subsidy or floating the naira has made me as an individual poor, because on the other hand, fuel subsidy removal has brought some level of stability in most businesses from being disrupted by consistent fuel scarcity. Please, in my own assessment and observation, Nigerians are not poor or hungry as being projected. These figures you are using are misleading the reality. Well, that's what Abbas is saying from Dutse. Well, let's see how we can take one or two calls. You want to join the conversation already? I mean, we're talking promoting good governance and democracy in Nigeria, and of course matters to concern the abuse of legitimate right, matters to concern the place of silencing dissent voices. These matters seem to be contrasting, but then we'd like to also know what your take is. Are you one that believes that under the Tinubu administration there is a tyrannical or tyranny, well, which is, I don't think that's a correct way to pronounce it, but tyrannical, tyranny going on, in this administration, or you just want to add your voice to it? I mean, there is a fleet of strike protests. Nupeng is there with the NLC refusing to reach a conclusive conclusion in a meeting with the federal government and Dangote and all of that. There is a place of the NLC talking about a protest. There's a place of the TUC saying they're going on a protest. There's this somewhere in Lagos, I guess. There's a protest where the people had gone on the streets protesting, fighting for their right and all. I mean, the ARD, Association of Resident Doctors, they're also going on strike, and then it has left the patients in these hospitals in Abuja to begin to scamper, looking for other ways that they can sustain and survive. But we'll just take this call already. Hello and good morning.
Barrister, good morning, Barrister.
Good morning, Obasanjo. You're calling from Omale.
I'm calling you all the way from Lapai, Niger Street.
All right, Obasanjo, 1 minute if you can. Oh, okay, we missed that call right there. Anyways, though, number is 0907 353 0044. 0907 353 0044, and the question will be, must we indeed go on a strike? Must we indeed go through these other processes whereby there is striking, there is protest? And I think Abbas has shared that thought one too many times, just before we are heard, just before we can get good governance in Nigeria. Hello and good morning to you.
Yes, good morning, Barrister.
Good morning to you, my brother. What's your name, where you're calling
Felix
from? Felix. It's been a while. I heard your voice, Felix.
Yes,
Talk to me.
I greet your guest and the submissions he made.
Right.
Very, very accurate. And in Nigeria is Nigeria. Nigeria is not Cuba. So repressive tendencies and policies will not work here. As we say, we are practicing democracy. Democracy is practiced to the letter. We don't bring democracy and militarism into the system and start coupling voices or guiding people or threatening the citizens. Don't go outside the South Nigeria and then make statements that are not true, and you expect Nigerians to take it hook, line, and sinker, no, and will not. And when they start, okay, you start thinking of how to suppress them. It will not work here.
Right.
We say we are practicing democracy, then let's practice democracy to the letter. Democracy is the government of the people and for the people and by the people.
Right.
So we should allow the tenants of the country to operate. Let there be separation of power. Let there be rule of law. Don't just drag everybody into the same thing. There's no separation. There's no rule of law. There's no respect for the judiciary. The judiciary is not independent. The electoral body is not independent. Everything is under government institutions. It doesn't work like that. Thank you.
All right, appreciate Felix right there. Says doesn't work like that. We'll just take one more call before we call it a close. Hello, good morning to you.
Thank you. It's Obasanjo called you back.
Very well.
Thank,
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
I'm pressed for time.
Right.
Obasanjo, let's get into it. Yeah.
Thank you. Guest there. Yeah, you're welcome, sir. You have been doing some justice to your comments by answering such of the questions. Barrister, you made mention of the generation of the federal government came out on board and said, okay, the implementations, how we have gained a lot of revenue from the oil subsidy and putting the money into security and the health.
Yeah.
All those ones, all those figures, are they only on paper, like our guest said? Are they only on paper, or we are seeing them? Are we seeing them like this physically? If I see them physically, then people will not get to complain. Why? If you said, okay, we have been generating a lot of revenue from the oil subsidy, why are we borrowing? Why is the government every day consistently borrowing from the outside there? If we are generating a lot of huge money like that, why borrowing. That is my first point. Secondly, the way insecurity. Let me tell you this. All of House of Representatives from my Zone B in Niger State, I am betting you they cannot go to their local government, their villages. My senator cannot, even for once, has not go to one single villages that issue of insecurity it's taking place. Up to date, this is how many years? This is 2-3 years now. He has not even for once that let me travel to the scene of these villages that the issue of banditry, the issue of insecurity, it's manifesting. Likewise in Zone C, where the former governor is representing their people again, he can no longer go there. Abubakar Sani Bello, he cannot go there.
Okay,
then come back. If we have been making faith, okay, we have been achieved the health system in Nigeria. Where have you seen a good health system?
All right,
that a president will buy a yacht of how many billions dollars? Then will buy a private jet, how many billions US dollars? Buy a SUV. I will not even call the same car that president.
Time will not allow for me now. I already told you before, but anyways, thank you.
It's okay. Thank you, Barrister.
Appreciate my brother. Well, so much said. Well, I see Eunice Danton Ibrahim, from Abaji. It says, good morning, gentle UD, good morning. All right, it says, when Abacha removed small portion of subsidy, we saw PTF. When Jonathan removed small portion of subsidy, we saw Shore P. When Buhari removed small portion of subsidy, we saw N-Power. Now that the present administration has removed the whole subsidy, what do we see as an achievement? What do we see? I think we see Nel Fund, right? I think we see Nel Fund. There are other things, though, too, that the president has put in place. What is that? Okay, I can't wrap my mind around it, but at least Nel Fund is one. But now we see, it goes on to saying, we keep on borrowing still, Nigerians are suffering. The minimum wage is too small, insecurity everywhere. The fruit of subsidy is going to our leaders as much as politicians. I think the only way forward is for this administration to pay more attention on the masses, not the elite. As I speak to you, FCDA staff have not received their wage award. May God help it. Oh, Eunice. Okay, now that is something, that's a lot. Well, this is where I'd like to pull the plugs in the discourse today so that we can actually attend to other programs on the breakfast show. But thank you to each and every one of us, far too kind, for adding your voices in the discourse. And we hope that we will not be swayed only by, that the government will not be convinced only by strikes and protest. And we also hope that the striking and the protesting will not also be politicized because there are also some gains that have been put in place and in ground. If those gains were not there, I don't think that the WTO DG Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala would have come while she came to pay maybe a working visit, I believe, to Mr. President sometime last week, saying that at least under the Tinubu administration the economy has stabilized, but more needs to be done. I don't think she would have said that. She would have told him point blank. But could it also mean that she is seemingly playing the international politics by making such statements? We never know. However, the government also needs to understand that, look, what is said on paper may not really be the reality in terms of the living standard and culture of the Nigerian people, because quite a number of us have said that times are really hard, and indeed it is really biting hard. Parents are there struggling to see how they can get their kids to school with low turnouts, at schools upon resumption. I mean, where is the money, right? The NLC is there also fighting for an increment in minimum wage and all. Now, if you look at all of these, you now ask one question and one question only: which way Nigeria? But